Board of Education, December 2nd, 2019 will now come to order. The news media is not here at this time. If I can approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we amend the agenda, please. I'd like to move the board business action of bus cameras approval up to immediately after we come back into a public sessions, after we talk with what we have to talk about in executive sessions, but to move it immediately after that if possible.
Sir.
Okay, it has been moved in second that we amend the agenda to stipulate that we move the bus camera approval up to the points, before the points of celebration, is that
Yes.
what you're saying? Before
Yes.
the points of celebration. And it's moved and second. Are you ready for question? All in favor for the amendment, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposers are the same. It is approved. Now can we approve the agenda?
Mr. Chair, let us, I make a proposal that we let the audit firm give their report before we go into the discussion of our new auditor.
So it would be right after.
Oh, okay, be right after the public comments.
You know, because it would not.
Okay, all right. Can I get a second for that? It's been moved in second that we also amend, a second amendment to move the audit report to follow, prior to beginning the board item of discussion, right after public comments. Am I right?
That's what we're saying.
Fine.
All in favor, are you ready for question?
I have a question. Is that not where it's at? Is that where you want it at, or you want to move it up higher?
She moved up. She wants to move up. And that is.
No, the audit report before the audit firms.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'm looking
Okay.
at West, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
You good with it?
Just keep, yeah, I'm rude.
Okay, all, ready for question? All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposes? It is unanimous. Now, are we ready to approve the agenda for this evening?
Yeah, make a motion that we approve the agenda and the changes and the minutes that has been made.
Second.
It's been moved and second that the approval of, that the agenda be approved with the corrected changes that have been made. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposed are the same. It is unanimous. We stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I got it right, Ray.
You good.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reverend Smith, would you be so kind as to lead us into an invocation?
Dear God, we thank you again for another day on earth. We thank you, God, for giving us the ability to move about and to be able to reason. And as we now enter, Heavenly Father, into this school board meeting, we pray that your presence will continuously be with us, leading and guiding our every thought, that we will do things in a decent and in order, that it will better our students and for our entire district. We ask that you bless the community of Marlboro County and give us unity among each other, that we can do things that will be pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we declare, forever we pray. Amen.
Amen. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
Move.
Second.
We're going to move the second to go into executive session. Are you ready for question? All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposed is the same. We are in executive session. Okay. Can you hear me now? All right. I don't want y'all to miss anything. No actions were taken, no decisions were made during our executive session, and we will now go into public sessions. We will not approve our minutes tonight. That will be done at a later date. Point of celebration. I'm sorry. There was some board business that needs to be attended to.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 2 hires and 3 resignations that were presented to us by Dr. McCord in executive session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the two hires and the 3 resignations be approved. Any question? Are you ready to vote? All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposes are the same. It is unanimous. There is one slight change in the agenda for this evening. We're going to move the board business action, the bus cameras approval up, and that will be next.
2 changes.
And there will be 2 changes also. We will be doing the audit firm as well. That will be moved up. The audit report will be moved up as well. I see their heads going up. We're looking out for you. But whoever, we'll start with the bus camera approval.
Okay.
Wes?
As Wes comes up, good evening, everyone. As Mr. Park comes up, I'll bring to the board that we did put out a RFP for proposals for camera systems for our buses. I see Herbert McNeil coming up as well, and I'll let them talk about what we have discovered at this time.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. McCord. You have a revised authorization to enter into a purchase lease for bus cameras on at your various positions there. This information was not available at the time that the packet was sent out, but let me just briefly read through this. The district is desiring to purchase lease / Scion cameras for 52 buses that are in operation Marlboro County School District. The specifications were prepared based on information from licensed Scion dealers. The district's current system incorporates that equipment and services. Request for bids was posted on the district's website and advertised in SCIBA, which is South Carolina Business Opportunities, on November 11th, 2019. Requests for bids were emailed to 5 licensed vendors. Bid opening was scheduled November 26th at 2 o'clock. It was, at that time, was anticipated pricing would range between $300,000 and $350,000. Information regarding the bids was not available at the time the packet went out. As you can see, I've included an update. The district has $75,000 available this fiscal year to provide for the leasing of this equipment, and we received 2 qualified bids. Mobile Communications out of Charleston, South Carolina, $304,785.80, and Carolina Thomas out of Greensboro, North Carolina, $312,495. And as an out-of-state vendor, they did not charge tax. When we add the tax, that amount becomes $334,266.60. Our recommendation here is to award a contract for the purchase of those cameras with Mobile Communications in the amount of $304,785.80, and that would be paid through a 36-month lease with Alliance Funding Group at a cost of $9,550.88 per month. That's a 4% rate. I've attached the bid information on the to this item here, and of course that is the recommendation is that the board awards a 36-month lease purchase with Alliance Funding group at a cost of $9,550.88 per month. Mr. McNeil can certainly provide information on specifications and the capacity and details regarding the system as was requested for this bid.
Good afternoon. We're looking at purchasing the 6 camera systems, which will eliminate the blind spots on our school buses. Now we have the high back seats, and the smaller kids, you can't see them, but now with the 6 camera system mounted on the sides, you'll be able to see down in the seats now. So we can see what's going on, so that'll eliminate a lot of the things that go on that we can't see now. We can eliminate that with these cameras. Also, we're going to have the wireless access points now. That's going to provide principals immediate access to investigate a situation, any incident on the bus now, a situation on the bus, they can investigate immediately. Now, when that bus circles back around past one of the access points, it'll download all the information from that camera immediately to the server. And so principals have that available at their hands immediately. Those are the 2 main features for it, but it's, you'll be able to reduce parent complaints as far as parents wanting to know where their child was sitting and what was going on. We'll be able to give them that information immediately. Monitoring students and bus drivers 24/7, you'll be able to take care of that. Those are the main features of this. We spoke with the vendor. Upon approval of purchase order, once he receives the purchase order number, they'll go ahead and put out for the product, and we should have it back with us ready to install within 20 to 30 days. So it's just as simple as, you know, once we get that, we can move on. Okay. And one of the things that we're trying to do is get it done during the holiday break. But he left off the biggest reason that we need this is because our camera systems don't always operate properly. And I think that probably has come to you at some point or another from a parent or a concerned citizen that if and when they have had a need to have something reviewed, it has not always been possible. This will allow us to have those camera systems up and ready.
We went this route a few years back, Mr. Coachman, I think you initiated, and we went this route, and it's done wonders, but it's just an older system, and it's obsolete now.
Systems last 3 to 5 years is the average time.
Yeah, it's about 4 or 5 years old now, so yeah, it's obsolete.
Time for upgrade.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith?
How many of the buses does the district currently own?
The district doesn't own any school buses.
School buses. So all of
But
this money that we're getting ready to spend on the camera system, understand it's very well needed. But the State Department giving us any monies to help defray some of the costs?
No, sir.
Okay, on the buses, you say 52 buses, so we're gonna be outfitting 52 buses. Who keeps the cameras and the system up? Is that included in this price?
Yes, sir,
They do
that's-
all the maintenance, all the repair?
That's included.
Anything that
Yes, sir.
happens to it is kept up in
Yes, sir.
this price? You said 3 to 5 years, that was the life expectancy of these systems?
But, and with Sayon, they're a little more up to date now. You can add on and use everything you got now. If in 3 or 4 years, Sayon's gonna have the same thing, and you'll be able to upgrade or just keep, just like Sayon's about like an iPhone. It'll update itself.
And that was my question. If in 3 years, this camera system's still working fine, what
Correct.
happens then to the camera system? Will it be taken out? Will we just renew it? What would be our options?
Renew it. Just keep renewing and keep updating
For
it.
that price or
Yes, sir.
whatever they, whatever.
They'll
they
come out
adjust it to.
every summer
Okay.
and update it, every summer.
So this company will upgrade?
Yes, sir.
Anything that needs to be updated?
They'll send
because
technicians out and take care of that every summer.
I'll buy a TV today and it's obsolete tomorrow, so I mean, they're gonna upgrade that for us.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Who's responsible to make sure that these cameras are on in the buses?
Say that again.
Who would be responsible to make sure the cameras are on? What activates these cameras on the buses?
That, all that's inside the camera. Once you switch the bus on, the camera activates itself and comes on. And with this system, it goes through and it reads back to the central spot to let everybody know at the central spot that the camera's working. All that goes back through the access point and back through the computer now.
Okay, so
So if
once
it's
you
not
turn the bus
working,
on, okay.
it goes back to us and the company to let us know that the camera's not working.
Okay, all right.
So you actually can monitor all the buses?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Coachman.
Well, I got one final question.
Go ahead.
I'm assuming, Mr. Park, we have the money for this.
We do. We've
Okay.
got 75,000, which will more than
Yeah.
cover the
Yearly.
payments for
The yearly.
the remaining portion of this fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I remember reading that 75,000. Mr. Coachman.
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the superintendent and the board chair to execute the documents related to the purchase, lease, and purchase of the bus camera system for a cost impact not to exceed $75,000 for the fiscal year 2019-2020.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we authorize the superintendent to follow up with the lease and purchase of the camera system for the buses not to exceed $75,000 this year, with the understanding of $9,000,
It's $9,550.
$9,550 monthly,
88 cents.
and 88 cents for a period of 3 years,
36 months.
36 months.
Yes, sir.
I did good. Any questions? Are we ready to vote? All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposers? It is unanimous. Thank you. Thank both of you. And now we will move to the
Audit presentation.
Audit
I'll have
presentation.
Mr. West present our representatives tonight from Malden and Jenkins. Mr. West Park.
Certainly honored to have Tim Lyons here with Malden and Jenkins, and he is going to be presenting the details of the financial audit. You have information in your packet regarding this presentation. Of course, today is the day that the audit report had to be submitted, and glad to say that that has been submitted to the State Department, so we're all in compliance. There is the audit is conducted in accordance with certain standards that are and the auditor's responsibilities to express an opinion on the financial statements as a whole. The district received an unmodified or clean opinion on the presentation of financial statements for the year ending June 30, 2019, and the report is going to be presented by Mr. Lyons.
Thank y'all for having me here tonight. Is that better, I think? What I've got up on the screen up there is just a short presentation to kind of go over the results of the audit. In my experience, this has been a little bit easier to go through than this lovely 130-page document that you have. I'm sure you all will read that over. It's light reading. You'll probably get to that later on tonight, I'm sure. So what I've got for our presentation here, just briefly to kind of reintroduce myself and the engagement team, go over some results of the audit. We've got a few slides in there about some financial trends that I think show some real positive things for the district. We'll go over our comments and recommendations that we had resulting from the audits, and then if there are any questions, feel free to stop me along the way, and then we'll have an opportunity right at the end. Just to reintroduce Malden and Jenkins to y'all, I know we've been the district's auditors for a couple of years now, but just to kind of reintroduce myself, this is my first year serving as the engagement partner on the district's audit. I helped out Tim Monahan last year doing some of the back office reviews, but this was my first year serving as the engagement lead partner, and Adrian, who's also with me here tonight, was the lead accountant on the audit. She served in that role for several years. And then Wade Sansbury, who is a governmental partner down in our Bradenton, Florida office, actually, who did the quality assurance review. And we really like to have those quality assurance reviews conducted by a partner who is not at all affiliated with the engagement. It's almost like a completely independent review to have them kind of look at the report, look at our audit file, make sure that we've done everything that we are supposed to do. So that was your engagement team this year. The results of the audit, as Wes pointed out, that second bullet there, the report on the 2019 basic financial statements, we did issue an unmodified or a clean opinion on the basic financial statements. Basically what that opinion means is that the school district's financial statements, as you see them in this book here, present fairly the results of operations and the statement of financial position as of June 30th, 2019. We also have to issue, because we conduct this audit in accordance with government auditing standards, we issue two additional reports. One of those is the report on internal controls over financial reporting and on compliance. We had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal control and no instances of non-compliance. So that's a positive thing. That means there were no audit findings this year related to the financial statements. So that's what that first report represents. The second report that we issue is what we call the Single Audit Act, or the Single Audit Report. And that's the report that we are required to do every year because the district spends more than $750,000 a year in federal funds. We're required to audit the district's major programs, which change from year to year, but this year we audited Title I and we audited the child nutrition program. And in our report on compliance and on internal controls over compliance, we issued a clean opinion on child nutrition, and we had a qualified opinion on Title I, and I'm going to go over that in just a few minutes, why that is different. The next couple of slides here, and I'm not going to read all of these to you, but these are what are known in the standards as our required communications. There are certain things that we're required to communicate to y'all, and I'm doing so in writing. And like I said, I'm not going to read through every single one of these, but the biggest ones that we always like to point out are that we were engaged to do an audit. The district is responsible for the financial statements, and we were engaged to audit them. We are independent of the district in accordance with our relevant ethical standards from the AICPA, as well as in accordance with government auditing standards, which when you're doing governmental audits and involving federal funds, there's some even more stringent requirements as it relates to independence. And so we are independents in accordance with both of those requirements. Probably the two other ones that I always like to point out, we received full cooperation from the district's management and staff. We really appreciate all the hard work that Wes and his team does to get ready for us so that we can conduct our field work timely, and that we didn't have any disagreements with them about any sort of accounting issues or financial reporting matters. We also didn't have any past audit adjustments, which means that every adjustment that we either found or identified or talked about throughout the conduct of the audit, they've all been posted and they're all reflected in the financial statement. So we didn't have any past adjustments. This slide here kind of goes over a few more of those required communications. I've got a couple slides in here that I think are good. I mean, I serve on a couple of boards myself and have been doing governmental work now for over 10 years, and I try to put in just a few slides that I think are really relevant. If I was a board member, I would want to look at the management's discussion and analysis, that real first part of the report. That's where management really goes into depth on some of the numbers and some of the changes from year to year. I try to recap a little bit of that for you here. Basically, I think the main takeaway from this slide here is that, as you can see, the district's operations and revenues and expenditures continue to grow, but every year revenues are exceeding expenditures by just a little bit, and this year it was a little bit more than a little bit. About $1.5 million was added to the general fund's fund balance this year, and I've got a slide on that here in a second. Here's where you can kind of see that net income where it tracked over the last 5 years. And then that $1.6 million is what was added to the district's general fund this year for the year ended June 30th, 2019. And then this slide here, I think, is really a positive thing to see, where the top blue line are expenditures and the bottom red line is fund balance. And as you see those lines grow further and further apart, that shows how much the district is relying on revenues every single year to come in to finance its operations. Where you see these lines start to grow together, you're seeing where you're adding to your fund balance. And as you can see, you've got about 15.7% of expenditures every year in ending fund balance, which again is a positive thing for the district. I know several districts that would be happy to have that much fund balance at the end of the year, and I think having that just shows you've got some flexibility there should there be a shortfall in revenues, or should there be a one-time reduction in something from the state. I mean, you never know with those types of things, and so having a little bit of flexibility there is a good and a positive thing. And I know that bond rating agencies typically, when they look at that type of stuff and they see 15% of fund balance, that 15 to 25% is typically what they look for, and that's a positive thing. The one audit finding we did have, and I touched on this earlier when I mentioned that we had a qualified opinion on our Title I, our audit of the Title I program. Ultimately, what it came down to, when you have employees who are charging costs to a federal program, there are very strict requirements on how we have to track that time and how we have to document and support that time with various amounts of documentation. In our testing, there were 3 employees that we selected in our sample who worked on both federal and non-federal activities. And the feds refer to this as multiple cost objectives. And when that happens, you're supposed to have these time and effort logs, and they're supposed to be done periodically. It's an after-the-fact distribution of time, and they're supposed to show the actual time spent on the activities, and they're supposed to be signed by the employee. And the ones that we selected and tested, while they did show kind of an estimated amount of what they were doing, it was maybe a weekly timesheet or a breakdown of what they were going to be doing on those activities. It didn't have the actual time spent documented on the forms, and they weren't signed by the employee. And so unfortunately, because of the way the federal standards are written, our hands are kind of tied. We don't really get a lot of judgment in that. It's sort of they either are or they aren't. And so what we have there is a finding because those 3 forms weren't signed and documented correctly. And then that question costs is just the total salary and benefits for those employees that were charged to the Title I program during the year. So we're not saying that those question costs aren't things that the district it's not missing. It's not money that was necessarily even spent inappropriately. It's just that the documentation wasn't there to support how it was charged to the federal program, and that's how we have to report it. We talked about this finding with management, and they've given us, in the back of your report, the big thick booklet, you'll see the last page is management's corrective action plan. We've talked about this with them, and based on what they've given to us, although we did not audit their response, we understand that corrective action has been taken and has already been put in place. We had a couple of other what we call management points or management recommendations. These are minor things that we just think can contribute to an improvement in internal controls and in the efficiency and the operations of the district. The first one, a small immaterial unreconciled difference across the bank accounts for the district. Again, a very immaterial amount, but we just, hey, pointing this out, it's cash. We just would recommend y'all look into that completely and get that knocked out. The collateralization of deposits, this one was a little bit interesting, and we talked with the district's financial institution that's holding the majority of the district's money, and what we found is that they were not pledging collateral at the full rate required by the state. And so the collateral was short in accordance with the state requirements by about $135,000, which this only becomes relevant if the bank fails. So we're not talking about something that is even a certainty, but it is something that we want to point out because it's something that I think should be talked about with the bank to make sure that they're pledging that collateral at the right percentages. Because in the event that the bank, if something really horrible happened and the bank did fail, then you could be in a position where the district would be at risk of loss there. And so we want to point that out just as something that for the finance team and for management to follow up with the bank on. And the last thing, this is something that we've been recommending with all of our clients. Governments are not immune to cybersecurity issues, ransomware attacks, and those types of things. We're actually, as I know I've talked to you all about before, with our free government client CPE, we're hosting an event this Friday in Columbia, actually. It's going to be on cybersecurity risks and risk management programs for governmental entities. And there are just some things that we would recommend the district consider as we kind of go forward. I mean, these risks are only going to become more relevant and more prevalent. And so there's just a couple of things that we would recommend from a policy standpoint that the district would potentially consider as it relates to cybersecurity risks. Last couple of things, and I won't go into a ton of details on this, but just we did one new accounting standard that was implemented this year, and your footnotes do represent that. The GASB Statement 88 did not change the accounting for anything, but it did change the footnote disclosures. And then coming up next year, fiduciary activities will likely change. Right now in your financial statements, there's that agency fund for pupil activities. That will likely change next year, as with all school districts in the state. We'll have to analyze those pupil activity funds and to see what's going on there and determine whether they should stay as an agency fund or get moved into the special revenue funds. And then the leasing standard is not next year, but for the year after, GASB 87, the standard about leases is going to significantly change how the district accounts for leases going forward. And all those things we will be proactively working with all of our clients to go over what needs to be done now during the fiscal year, what needs to be done at year end to get ready for the audit as we look to implementing these new standards. These other ones don't expect to have a significant impact on the school district, but we do want to put them out there just for y'all in case there was a question or something we could look at for you on that. Lastly, just to remind y'all, we do free client CPE. As I mentioned a minute ago, we're doing an event this Friday in Columbia. The Richland County School District is hosting it for us, and so if any of y'all either would like the invitation or if I can forward it to you, just let Wes know. He knows how to get in touch with me. But we had some people sign up today, so we're still open to anybody coming to that on Friday. We're going to be talking about cybersecurity risk management. And kind of with that, I am happy to take any questions that y'all might have. I know that's a lot of information, so.
Any questions at this time for anyone? And the reason I say it that way is I like to read over this a little bit and maybe call you later on.
Absolutely.
Talk with Wes.
Absolutely.
Get
I have one question.
more clarity on what you just spoke about, Mr. Coach.
Yeah, based on the audit you just presented to us, overall, we have a clean audit
Yes, sir.
with no deficiencies.
Yeah, no, the only deficiency we had was related to the federal programs.
It's a Title I.
And, okay.
And we have a corrective action plan in place for that.
That's right.
That's just related to, if you would, just talk about that for a moment. And I say that because I don't want anyone to think that there's something improper.
No, absolutely. I mean, basically what it comes down to is the feds are very stringent on the documentation that you have to have when you're charging personnel costs to a federal program. And so our finding, and when you see question costs, I mean, in my mind, I would think to myself, oh my gosh, does that mean that these costs are inappropriate? Are we going to have to pay these back? It's nothing like that. We are just required to report them that way because the documentation that was there to support those costs being charged to the grant was not exactly in line with how the feds want you to do it. And it pertained to a very specific type of employee. These were not the teachers or the other employees who work on Title I throughout the year that have to have periodic certifications. We tested a number of those employees and had no issues with those. It was just this one class, and there were just 3 employees who work on Title I funded objectives and non-Title I funded objectives. And when that occurs, they have to have these time and effort distribution reports that show what they did and how many hours were spent, and they have to be signed. And the requirements are very strict as far as that goes. We don't get any sort of judgment. I mean, you know, it even went so far as to some of the ones where we saw where the employees who were in question were sending those reports in to the program folks via email. It's just that the reports, the feds say they have to be signed, and so we don't get a lot of judgment, even though they were emailed by the employee to the program folks. They just weren't signed.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
Okay. I have another question. Maybe this Mr. Parks can help me on this.
The director of the federal programs, is there not a report that I think in times past they've come and they've said we have no, all of our programs, we're in line, we're in compliance, and can't recall the last time that we've had that. Would this, I remember and I can't remember who the director was over the federal programs, but would they have noted or recognized that deficiency or whatever you want to call it?
Possibly they may have. Of course, that would have been the State Department coming in to do the, it would probably be either a field or desk audit that they would do of the program.
But
Right.
Title I did, sorry.
Title I
Title I
did.
did have a desk audit this past year, and this was noted in the desk audit.
Correct.
So,
they had a desk audit for the Marlboro County School District.
yeah, for the 18-19 year, they came, I think, in March or so.
Back in the spring.
Yeah, March or so they came in, and this was noted in the email, and I spoke with the individual from the DOE on this matter, and it was noted to her at that time, and they were already working to correct that when I brought it to the attention as well.
Okay.
And we attribute some of that to new personnel becoming familiar with policy and procedure. So it was a quick fix, but nothing that we did not make sure that we put into action.
So did they, when they came in the spring, and they found it, and it was brought to the district's attention, did you put in correction action then, or are you going to do it now that the audit firm has found it?
No, we started then. We received when we received the information back, then we put the corrective action plan in place.
Just for me, with this, how would do you think, from your opinion, would this impact our funding, future funding? Is this something that really, because we spend so much on our federal dollars, and we know we have people that work sometimes on the federal programs, and what are your...
In my experience, I don't think it will. I mean, it's this type of a finding, this type of a situation. It's not even that the I's weren't dotted and the T's weren't crossed. Is that they were with blue ink, and they said you had to use black ink.
That's all.
And so I really don't think, in my experience, I've not ever had a school district had federal funding cut because of a finding from a single audit, especially with the corrective action plan that's in there. It speaks very strongly to the fact that the district is aware of it and has addressed it, and we will audit Title I again next year because the feds will require us to, the major program determination will require us to look at it again next year. And I mean, if the corrective action plan as the district has described it to us has been implemented, we won't have any issues next year, and away we'll go.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I think in previous years, the director would come up and they would tell us that everything was fine, and this is the first time that I recall there is just a little deficiency, and that I'm just kind of concerned that is, but that kind of answers my question.
Okay.
Mr. Driggs?
I failed the answer to my question. That's okay.
Anyone else? Mr. Lyons, thank you very much.
Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're back to where we need to be.
I got to remember where we were.
We're back at quantum celebration.
Oh, man, it's just the signatures. That's all. I mean, it's insignificant.
Okay.
Points of celebration.
Points of celebration. Points of celebration.
Good evening, Chairman McNeil, members of the board, and Dr. McCord. On behalf of McCall School, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Marlboro County School District's Character Education Student of the Month for the month of November. The character trait for November was citizenship. Our student of the month is Jude Mew. He's a 4th grader at McCall School, and his teachers say this: Jude Mew is a productive and involved member of his community. He attends Mount Calvary Baptist Church and participates in their community events. He is an active soccer player and basketball player with local teams. Over our fall intercession, Jude and his family took a vacation to Washington, D.C., and when they returned to school, Jude presented a Google slideshow to all of the 4th grade classes, since many of our students have never been out of the state. He tries to make every student feel included, and he is a positive member of our school, and we are super proud of Jude Mew. I'd like for him and his family to come forward at this time. Yes, and I would like to also mention that his mom is our 8th grade math teacher. We're super proud of her. That's right. And his dad works with technology with the district, so it's all in the family here.
Good evening, Board Chair, Board members, and Dr. McCord. It gives us great pleasure to present November's Character Education Student of the Month for grades 6 through 8. Tonight, we are recognizing Amanda Sulatin. Her teacher says this about Amanda: Amanda exemplifies citizenship every day. She's a role model for other students, and she is definitely a pleasure to teach. Amanda displays respect, responsibility, self-discipline, as well as other character traits to all of those that she encounters, both adults and students. She is an integral part of the learning environment as she contributes to the positive learning. She is always involved in the learning process and willing to help others succeed. She goes beyond the call of duty each and every day. Amanda is a scholar athlete who puts academics at the forefront. She holds herself and others accountable for their actions. She is respectful to everyone, including those in authority. She holds herself and others accountable. All of Amanda's teachers toot her horn because she has a gold of heart. And at this time, I will ask Amanda and her family to please come forward.
Well, it's my pleasure to recognize our child nutrition staff, the director, field service manager, as well as the cafeteria managers for passing the Serve Safe certification, for successfully completing the standard for Serve Safe food manager certification examination. And that is a 5-year certificate that they were awarded, and I'd like for them to come forward at this point in time to recognize them.
As they come up, I do want to acknowledge that we put a particular challenge on the cafeteria staff at the beginning of the year to help us improve not just the health and wellness of the cafeteria food that was being served, but the selections being served. And I think, Ms. Wallace, you can correct me, because of the tremendous job and outpouring of support that we've received from you and your respective staffs, not only has the survey from students improved, the choices and the selection has greatly improved, and the lunches being served has increased dramatically over the first 4 months of the school year. And that's because of the hard work that you do. And so we say thank you for what you do, and these medals are just a small token of our appreciation.
Good job.
Where do we start at? Anybody? Yours three? Hang with it. Come on.
She said call everybody's name.
Go ahead.
All right. Ian is Terry Long from Glenna. Amanda Pruitt is our field supervisor. Amanda Hatcher is Clio. Christy Fields, that got us all here tonight, is McCall. Gina Quigg is Bennettsville Primary School. And we're, Tabitha Bingle is Marlboro County High School. And we're missing Tiffy Clark at Bennettsville Intermediate and Sheila Whitten from Wallace. Everybody over here? Okay. Did you get your medal?
No, I'm sorry. I saved this for last. Oh, there you go.
No, you need to get everybody on this side of the post. So we got to sit on there. Thank you.
Y'all did a mighty fine job feeding our children.
I'm going to ask Ms. Quick Primus to come up and talk about a award that the district recently received, also related to health, wellness, and nutrition. Ms. Primus? Not Primus?
Not wellness this time.
Okay.
Good evening, Chairman McNeil, members of the board, and Dr. McCord. Marlboro County School District is committed to providing students with many opportunities and experience through awareness and support. In efforts to address and improve attendance of students that have been identified as chronically absent for this school year, Marlboro County School District has been awarded a Helping Kids mini grant through Sourcewell and the Association of School Superintendents in the amount of $2,500. Marlboro County School District plans to address chronic absenteeism by identifying 100 students this school year that have missed more than 10% of seat time. This intervention program will focus on giving them a world of opportunities through mentorships, tutoring, social emotional growth, and academic incentives. All students participating in the program must meet approximately 85% of their seat time for the next 9 weeks after the program starts. Hopefully, students will attend not only their attendance, but their attitude towards school. We will also engage parents by educating them with nutrition, health, and the impact of social media, family dynamics, and the importance of attendance in a school environment. The award will cover students who receive basic need kits. They will have at least one field trip throughout the 9 weeks, and of course, student incentives to promote attendance. We have already identified a number of students that have been identified as absent or have chronic absence, but at this time we will dig a deep further so we can note the students that has missed more than 10% of the time of school now. Letters will go out to parents next week. We will have a parent meeting January 7th. January 13th through March 27th is 9 weeks when the program will be administered to students. Students will be assigned a mentor for this program, as well as tracking their attendance, their academics, as well as their behavior. This concludes my presentation.
And we received a check today, so it works out well. And I would like to commend Ms. Primus for her efforts in making this happen. She submitted on behalf of the district to the American Association of School Superintendents, and we were one of a handful of districts to receive this grant award. So thank you, Ms. Primus, for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I have one.
Yes.
You said how many kids have you identified already who may be at risk?
So at-risk students, we have identified approximately 400 students, and that's in grades K through 12. But that not all of those students, the system targets students when they've been late or tardy, because we look at seat time. So it's not that they've missed all these days. It could be where they're tardy and they're not making their seat time that they're supposed to have.
Okay. All right. But we're going to focus on the ones that
Chronically absent. So that includes tardiness, that includes not being here at school, and that includes habitually not being here multiple days.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'll ask West Park to, oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, public comments. I thought you said, go ahead, we missed
No,
public
we
comments.
have no public comments.
Oh, there none?
No public comments.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll ask West Park to come to the front to talk about the costs associated with the audit firms. You asked last month that we reach out to the companies that presented to us the previous month. I believe in October, there were 5 firms that presented vying for the services of the district. And I think we had 3 return back
submissions. Yes, sir.
Return back costs, and I believe you have that information, but I'll let Mr. Park
I do.
share that with you.
And the 3 firms that submitted fee proposals are as follows. Green Finney LLP for the 5-year period, $194,500. Malden and Jenkins LLC, $171,000. McGregor and Company LLP, $185,000 plus travel costs not to exceed $12,500, so that potentially could be $197,500. Those are the 3 proposals that we received. I've attached the communication that was did just a fee. Proposed fee sheets, which actually indicates what the fee would be each year, and then of course the total, and then the actual submissions that were sent to the district as a part of that from those firms.
Thank you, Mr. Parks, and I know this is something that we need to address quite quickly if we decide to look at another, consider another firm. And it's something that I know we will have to address before the end of this year is out, as a matter of fact.
No, we need to do it.
If you want to do it tonight, that'll be fine. If someone has a firm in mind.
I just want to ask a question. With Malden and Jenkins, the $171,000, does that include travel costs?
Yes, it does. They do not charge for any travel or additional
And
out-of-pocket.
Green and Finley? They don't charge that?
That fee is all inclusive as well.
Okay.
Did, the other two firms that we
I-
presented, you just heard nothing? Or-
I don't understand why they didn't submit a fee schedule, but I can't speak for why, but the communication went to them, but for whatever reason, just did not respond.
That's fine.
It's obvious that we've had Marlon and Jenkins for some years. How long we had them here?
2 years.
Well, they were under a
This
different
will be
name.
the third year. Well, it was actually,
They've been, I mean, they were,
Derek Stubbs was the previous firm, but of course Malden and Jenkins purchased their practice. But they've got, certainly a very large practice in Georgia and the southeast.
the reason why I asked that, because we said we wanted to look at some other firms because it felt like it was time for a change. Yeah. And Malden and Jenkins basically is an offspring from somebody that we had for several years. And maybe they need a different set of eyes to look at all this, and I think that's what we agreed on. That's why we're looking in this direction.
Okay, if we're interested in looking or changing firms tonight and now is the time that we'll be doing that. If you have someone in mind, if not, we'll continue with the firm that we have. Am I right?
That's where we at. I think pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
I was interested in, and I asked, and I'm sure the information was shared about Green and Penny, simply because they were small and they served districts similar to ours, and but their prices, their price was considerably higher than what we have now. So
What's your
I
pleasure?
have to be, aware of the district's funds, and if the current firm, Malding and Jenkins, we just had the audit, and it seems like they found something, but it's nothing that can't be fixed. They're big, and lots of times when you're real big, you don't look at little fish, and little people, little district, a little bit of money, but whatever the board decides, Benny, I was impressed, but then it come a little pricey. That's my feeling.
If I can get something in the form of a motion, or do we continue with what we have, with who we have, I'm sorry. Well, no, I'm not gonna sit here all night and wait on y'all to make a decision. I'll make it for you then. We'll continue with Malden and Finney.
Jenkins.
Malden and Jenkins, I'm sorry. All right, thank you very much.
Thank
That
you.
works for me. That works for me.
Kind of hard to spend an extra $20,000.
So, I serve at the pleasure of the board. If I'm understanding you correctly, I'll make communication on tomorrow with Marlon and Jenkins and let them know that it is the wishes of the board to continue with the services moving into the next fiscal year.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it should. That's why I'm making sure.
If I can get somebody to do it.
Mr. Chair, I will offer a motion that we continue with Malden and Jenkins as our audit firm.
If I can amend that motion, that we continue with Malden and Jenkins for the 2021 year, not the 5. That gives us the following year to, do we have to do 5 years?
I believe, and Mr. Park, you can speak to that, but I believe there is a reason why they each provided 5-year.
They provided pricing over a 5-year term, so it's not as if they provided single-year pricing.
Right.
The expectation is that the engagement will be for a 5-year period.
I'm quite sure it can be worded so if something came up that we could consider. Something like
Well, there's an out clause in
Yeah, there's always.
in it, so, I mean, you can separate for convenience or cost, but again, that would be,
That would be up to us.
If you can't do it.
well, we didn't ask them for a one-year service agreement. We asked for multi-year. And of course, that shows a commitment from the district to the company, and from the company to the district. And that's why each of them provided 5-year pricing.
Okay, we're back to the amendment. Do you want the amendment to stand, or do you? You withdraw it. Okay, then I will need a second.
I'll second Mrs. Finch.
Okay, it's moved and second that we continue our services with the audit firm of Malden and Jenkins. Are you ready for question? Are you ready to vote? All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 abstention. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 abstention. Okay, let's keep going. Got building updates.
I'm going to ask David Lodeholt to come up and go over some building updates, and I do want to share with you, there is a part during this presentation that will bring a little anxiety, and that's due to the fact that on last week, well, the week before we got out for break, we had a visit with OSF for the project at BIS, and there were some findings from the state fire marshal that we have to get corrected. And so Mr. Lodeholt will talk a little bit about that, but just want to let you be aware before we get started.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. McCord. We'll give you an update on the building projects as of today. Some stuff happened today that's not in here that I'll inform you of, but we've had a pretty productive 6 months here since from May till now. To start with, we're working on the lighting project district-wide. The first school we tackled was Marlboro County High School here. We're about 80% complete. The major area that's not completed is the B Hall. As you noticed when you came into the meeting in November, the cafeteria was done, and now you notice the media center is done. There's a couple areas in A Hall we still need to go back and address. Mainly there's some equipment that needs to be moved around so that they can get to the lights. We plan to start McCall toward the end of December. That's the next school we're headed to. Bathrooms. There's quite a few bathrooms projects we've started. We've done, we're primary school right now on the main hall. There's a boys and girls bathroom, gang toilet. We have got the majority of it done. We need to install the petitions that go around the commodes. We hope that'll be done next Monday. The McCall gym lobby bathroom and the Marlboro County High School gym lobby bathroom, which is on the other side of the gym from where we are now, is scheduled for winter break. The BIS gym hall bathroom, boys and girls, are scheduled for December. That'll probably happen a lot over winter break also. The staff bathrooms here at the high school, we've started in the gym lobby. Those should be completed the week of the 16th. We'll then start the 2 staff bathrooms in the office up here, which will be completed over winter break. And the hall bathroom in A Hall has been designed, and Thompson Turner is running a budget on it or pricing it out right now. There's a pretty big overhaul that goes to that bathroom. It's on the vocational wing. I don't know how many of you have been in it, but it used to have a shower in it, and it's two-room bathroom, so it's rather large, so we're trying to clean it up a lot and get rid of those showers and all. The boys and the girls had a shower in it. We have a door project going on here at Marlboro County High School. The 8 single doors back here at the gym going out to where the students catch the bus in the parking lot are going to be replaced over winter break. They've been ordered. They are on schedule to come in. That will be about a 10 to 15 day project. So we'll start the day the students leave, and we'll probably be wrapping up right before they get back. The front entrances at Clio and the primary school, we got original design on them. We presented to Dr. McCord, and we've gone back to redesign. I need to pull some measurements for the architectural firm of Brownstone, and then they'll complete those and get them to Thompson Turner by December 20th, and they'll provide us a cost estimate. Brownstone submitted original plans to OSF, so when they have their tabletop discussion with OSF, they'll present the redesigned plans. The track at Marlboro High School, you'll see, a week ago they went out there and scraped the track, exposing all the edges where grass had grown over it. The paver is scheduled to return this week, weather permitting. Hopefully all the days this week will be over 50 and he'll be able to get out here and do some work. We have one issue at the high jump pit. There's water standing, it's just not draining off. So we'll get somebody to check that to find out why it's not draining out into the wastewater.
For the scoreboard, we did receive word today that Marlboro Electric Co-op would like to be responsible for paying for the scoreboard. We are happy to receive that request from Marlboro Electric Co-op, but of course our board policy says that any donation over $1,000 has to be approved by the board. I can tell you the cost of the scoreboard will exceed $125,000. The commitment that they're hoping to make with us, and they're going to come back later on this month with something that I asked them to look at, but it will exceed over $200,000 over a multi-year period. So I think that says a lot about the community involvement that we've been hoping to get. It says a lot about their level of commitment to the school district, not just for athletics, but they also want to be responsible for helping us grow our product here in Marlboro County. And so I would more than likely, I can bring it to you next month and ask for approval, but because we are going to begin production for the sign tomorrow, because they like to see it put up as quickly as possible, I would like to ask if that could be considered as a motion from one of you that I be allowed to continue in our conversations to receive a donation from Marlboro Electric Co-op.
Chairman,
Discussion.
I'd like to make a motion, we allow the superintendent to take the donation for the school board and an X amount of dollars, whatever Marlboro Electric would like to donate to help this school district year out.
Second.
It is moved and second that the superintendent be given the authorization to continue conversation with Marlboro Electric Co-op, and that he accept the fundings that will be given to the school district by the co-op. Any questions? Are you ready to vote? All in favor, let you know by raising your right hand.
I'd like to.
All opposes?
I'm abstaining.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 approval and 1 abstention.
Okay, and I'll have them come in next month for a more formal presentation. And again, excited about it and very grateful for, again, what they're doing to help us here in Marlboro County School District.
So we'll be moving on tomorrow, working with the electric co-op and DevCo on the final design of the school board, so that they can get it into production and try to get it out before the end of December.
Let me ask you a question. Do we have any fixtures as far as the scoreboard in the gymnasium? With
I'm sorry?
For the scoreboard in the gymnasium?
Did I?
Have we?
Oh, any discussions?
Yeah.
I have not. You know, some of those things I kind of leave up to the school. Some of the things we're working on together, but I believe in my conversations with the athletic director and the principal, they are actively pursuing sponsors for the gymnasium as well as other areas of the school. Is that correct, Mr. Farr? Yes, sir. This just happened to be one of those blessings out of the sky. And again, I think a lot of people had something to do with that, to include, not limited to board chair, Mr. McNeil, Doug Jennings, and others in the community that made the introductions and got us in a way that we could have conversations that led to this.
And when we come back in January, we'll show you what it looks like.
I can email that to you.
Yeah.
I have it.
Yeah, well, as soon as we get it completed and laid out, Marlboro County Electric has to approve it, so they want to work on it a little bit. All right. BIS, this is where we've been spending most of our time lately. This project is in 2 phases. Number 1 is the demo and abatement of asbestos. And the second part is the new cafeteria, kitchen, and auditorium renovation. We did have a OSF fire marshal inspection on November 25th, the first day the students were out. They came at 2 o'clock. Of course, at 1 o'clock, everything worked as it was supposed to. When the fire marshal came in, we started the inspection. We tested the fire alarm with the power, and it worked. We threw the breaker to the fire alarm, and it decided not to work. So the fire marshal asked that we look at that, get it resolved, and bring them back. Everything else they looked at with OSF and the fire marshal as far as the plans, they approved. We had where we blocked off the corridors. There's a door we're putting in where there used to be a door before, which will now serve as another access and an access out, and it'll be permanent across from the gym on that hallway. After the inspection, myself and the architect with Jumper Carter, Joel Carter, we talked that afternoon. We talked on Tuesday. We talked to the electrical engineer. And at that time, we decided that instead of just putting in a new fire alarm, that we need to get this one up and running so we can move forward with the demo. This is a Notifier brand fire panel. Fire Tech Fire of South Carolina is the Notifier rep for South Carolina. This panel was put in back in 1998, so it's under about codes from 4 different times ago. This company, Fire Tech, will have a representative on site in the morning at 10 o'clock. They're going to try to get the fire alarm back up. There's a couple of options we have to get it going. There were a couple of things OSF wanted us to be a little more clear on. We hope to meet with them at the end of this week in their office in order to go over a couple things they asked for. We hope they will then schedule another inspection next week or the week of the 16th. We aren't currently at a standstill though. The asbestos abatement is scheduled to start on Wednesday of this week. This will take 2 weeks to complete. So we knew we had to do that anyway before demo could start. They gave us approval to move forward with that because they liked the way we had all the buildings sealed off. So we're moving forward with the asbestos abatement. The district has a responsibility in that, in hiring a third party to monitor it, to make sure the air quality is where it's supposed to be. So we've got all that in place to begin Wednesday. The addition renovation, those plans will be discussed with OSF when we go back with the demo plans. Thompson Turner has the initial plans on that, and they're running estimates on them now. Once we meet with OSF on a tabletop, what they call it, on this addition and renovation, we'll meet back with Dr. McCord again with the plans to review them and get his input, hopefully the week of the 16th. Some projects we've completed over the last 6 months. We've done playgrounds at McCall and BIS. We've moved a playground from Blenheim to BPS. We've done basketball courts at BIS, Blenheim, and a small one at BPS. We've done shades at Clio and Wallace. We've done a bus awning at Clio, and we've completed bathroom projects at the gym lobby here at the high school, the stadium concession. We've done 2 girls and 2 boys restrooms on the D hall, and we've done a set of boys and girls bathrooms at McCall. Are there any questions?
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Any questions?
The fire, it looks as if we may have to get a new panel.
Well, when you got a 98 panel, and it's been through 4 code changes. Right now, we're trying to get it up and running. We have a couple of ideas to get it up, which isn't an issue with the fire marshal as long as it'll work. The fire alarm does work. Don't get me wrong, it works like it's supposed to, but if you get a new panel, you want it done in the summertime and not during the school year.
That was the only question I had. Is the one we have now, does it work?
It does work.
Okay.
It does work. And they do have, and it is battery backup. And the batteries are new in it. We're just not exactly sure why it didn't work when they threw the power. So, but we are working on that. Like I said, they'll start tomorrow morning.
I'm just reminded of something that at the Risky Business Conference, and they were talking about, and I guess you know where I'm going with that. But,
yeah. And I will let you know, the district has a contract with Simplex Fire, Johnson Controls Simplex, and they are going around testing all the fire alarm systems in the school district. They are checking all the exit lights. They are checking all the emergency lights, that if all the power goes off in the school, you have battery powered lights on the wall that are supposed to come on. And so all that had been done at BIS. Like I said.
Let me say this, for years the district has not engaged in any type of contracts that call for preventative maintenance on these systems, and so we did enter into it this year, and we thought we were on go, but we found out we were not. Another thing that David did not mention is prior to our coming together, there were air conditioning units that were placed on the roof at BIS, completed last summer, I believe it was, or this summer, but they were not tied into the panel system, and so that work has to be
and we did track that down today.
Okay.
We worked on that Tuesday and Wednesday last week, got an answer this morning, or later today on the way here. The mechanical engineer that worked on that job said it did go through OSF,
okay,
and that none of the units are required to be tied in. So we're in the process now of going back to OSF.
That
saying,
helps us, yeah, that may
go
save
pull
us
your
some money.
records, here's the person that signed off on it.
Good.
So we did resolve that issue today, so.
So the air conditioning units that was put in, they were not tied into the panel.
Sounds like you said we just got word today that,
There's a requirement that if you put an air conditioning unit in, if it meets a certain requirement, you have to tie it into the fire panel.
And they did not do that.
None of the units meet the requirement to be tied into the fire panel. So,
But this, I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm not understanding.
we're good.
yeah, you're good.
We just got word today.
The
We're good.
district's in good shape.
Not good like we need to continue. This actually is going to cost us, and this is the part that he hasn't gotten to, it's going to cost us probably a couple $100,000. No, not to get the system up to date.
If we have to put in a new system runs about $250,000 by today's codes.
It also sets us back about 60 to 90 days on our projects.
Right.
So
that's why it's important that the company come in tomorrow and work on this panel and get it approved and passed by the fire marshal. So if we do put in a new one, we'd be putting it in the summer and not now.
And this is just very troublesome because this whole issue, because that Abbeville money I thought was going to take care of it. They spent that money and it's gone, and we're still having problems. Now, I had a problem with that from just for the longest time, and even now it's getting more because I don't know whether someone should have checked that before they went ahead and put the roof on or put the air conditioners on there, but that's kind of troublesome to me, and plain and simply because that was money that was given to us that to help us and
could have corrected it.
Pardon me?
Could have corrected the issues then. Right.
Yeah, and the money is gone and the issues are still there, and it's just troublesome.
Okay.
And I don't know what recourse we have.
Well, we don't have any recourse other than to get it done, but I appreciate you bringing that up because that wasn't under my watch, and so I don't want that to be reflected in my next evaluation.
We understand.
But we will be getting it corrected.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
We
thank you.
understand that, but we also understand that historically what that money was for and what it was just ran through very quickly, and the work was not done like it should have been done.
We're going to get it done.
Yeah.
Okay, moving forward.
Thank you.
I need to apologize to Ms. Melissa Simmons. I just received this notice for public comment. Ms. Simmons, if you're here, if you would come forward, please. And again, I do apologize. I just got this. I wasn't aware of it. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm a little nervous.
Don't be. It's just
Nervous,
us.
emotionally drained, physically and emotionally. I came to discuss a matter about my child. I wasn't sure if it was okay to name names, so I just marked the names
No,
out.
you can't
Have
name.
any questions,
No
I
names,
answer.
please. Just no names.
Okay, no names? Okay.
No names.
On November the 19th, my child was sent home with a possible fever and a headache. You can see the pain all in his face. My mom administered him some meds and he laid down and went to sleep. When he woke up, I asked him how long did he have his headache in school. He was unsure of the time and stated it was while the class were watching a movie. He said he kept trying to get his teacher's attention but couldn't, so a classmate told the teacher that he was crying. While crying, he was holding his head, so the teacher then stated his head is probably hurting. My child wasn't sent to the nurse, or I wasn't contacted about my son's condition. Wednesday, I took him to the eye doctor because he still had complaints of a headache and some eye pain, in which he do need glasses. So after his appointment that morning, I went back to the school to have a meeting with the principal because I was told that she was the only one that could, remove him out of the class. And I was told that she was in a meeting and I was instructed to leave a note and contact information. So Thursday, I still haven't heard anything from the school. So I called around 11 a.m. and I was told that she was in a meeting again. That's when I asked to speak with the assistant. I explained the situation to the assistant and, he told me once again that the principal was the only one that can change him out of the class. That next morning, about 2 a.m., he rolled over and his leg touched my back and it was, hot. So I checked his temp and it was 102.6. That morning, I called his PCP where they told me to bring him at 11:15. I called for a transcript. I contacted the counselor for a transcript. He told me to meet him and bring my child. So before his appointment, I went and met with the counselor and the assistant principal was also there. The assistant principal basically told me the same thing, that the principal was the only one that can, remove my child out of the class. And that, she was busy and she was in meetings. And my response to that was, you cannot tell me she's that busy in meetings that she can't give me and my child 30 minutes of her time. That's when he basically told me that she was actually moving into a new home. So then I stated, so furniture is more important than my child's education. And then the assistant told me that was my decision to have him out of school, as if I'm overreacting about my child basically being neglected in school with a headache. And, I wasn't contacted or the nurse. And, I was upset with the assistant principal, and I did tell him he will see me December the 2nd at 6:00 p.m. at the next meeting. This morning, I finally received a call from the principal asking what time. She called me at 7:45, asking me what time could I meet her, and I told her 8:30. While in the meeting, I explained everything that happened that Tuesday, including the name of the child that, got the teacher attention and told the teacher that my child was crying. And the teacher stated, he probably has a headache. I told her I just wanted my child removed out of the class. And the principal then stated she could not move a child to another class unless it's for a good reason. And I was confused and upset, like, you're basically telling me that that's not a good reason. My child was in school for however long, and I'm not sure what a headache. A headache can lead to so many complications. High blood pressure, you can have a seizure, a stroke, anything could happen to my child, and I feel like it's not being taken seriously. The principal stated, how did I know my child was telling the truth? So she basically looked at me in my face and told me that my child was lying. And she asked me, did I talk to the student that told the teacher that, and how would I talk to another child? I was kind of confused with that. And I just told her I wasn't going to go back and forth with her about this. I just wanted my child transcript. I got a transcript and I went to the school district and I spoke with the individual that sent me to the school that I was, thinking of relocating my child to. The principal told me that, that the school was full to capacity. And at 4:33, I received another phone call from the person that's over the individual that sent me to the school that I was looking into. I know it's kind of hard to understand. And they told me that that it's not protocol for a child to be sent to the nurse or for a parent to be contacted when a child has a headache. I didn't understand that, don't agree with that. I mean, like I said, a headache should be taken seriously. And that it is a possibility that Not just my child won't be transferred to the school that's suitable for myself and my child, but it's also a possibility that my child will still remain in that teacher's class. On Friday, my child was diagnosed with an ear infection of the right ear. After being on antibiotics for 3 days, he still constantly ran fevers throughout the night. So that Monday, I took him back to his PCP, and he was diagnosed with pneumonia. I didn't bring none of, I meant to bring the paperwork from the doctor's office, but I forgot it. But if anybody needed, you know, I would definitely get it to him. I just feel like, you know, not just my child, but any child, health should be taken seriously. Let's not wait until a child's life is at risk to take proper precautions.
Okay.
That's it. Any questions?
Well, we can't ask you any, but I think the right person has heard your concerns, and that person should make a contact with you in some form.
Okay.
And I want to thank you for coming forward. Thank you for sharing with us your concerns about your child, and I pray that he gets better.
He's getting there. He's getting there. Thank you.
And again, I apologize for the tardiness.
Oh, that's fine. It's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Any other? Well, no, that's the only one I got. Okay, we'll continue with board items for discussion.
Yeah. Okay. We'll continue with the strategic planning for years 2020 through 2025. There's an opportunity for us as a board and superintendent and staff to attend a conference in February in Atlanta. We currently are engaged in a grant. We're recipients for grant E3, which started maybe 2 years ago prior to me getting here. Money has been set aside for professional development and training to include the board. The conference is in Atlanta. We would sit down and talk and begin discussions on strategic planning for the next 5 years. If the board so wishes to be a part of that, I'll send that information to you. I think it's a grand opportunity because it won't cost us anything. It also gives us a chance to sit down and listen rather than us bringing the work. We'll have our staff members there, and we'll have a professional organization that can help us strategically plan out the next 5 years. And that's for the board and the district. Again, if you're interested, you'll receive information, and I just need to know something so that I can plan accordingly. The 28th through the 29th, yes ma'am. So more than likely, you would leave on the 27th and return on the 29th. And that is correct. That's, you're talking about in February, yes ma'am. You don't have to answer, just didn't know if you had any questions about it.
If we can do a consensus of the board, if you would just have someone send something out to us individually, and we can respond that way.
And that's in your packet.
Yeah.
What you can expect at the training.
If we can just have something similar, and we can get the consensus of the majority of the board, and then we'll just go forward from there.
Okay.
Okay?
I do want to ask that the board consider allowing, one of the things that we do, but I don't know if we can ever do enough of promoting the good news and the good things and the good people of the district. I'd like to ask the board to consider allowing that we recognize one staff member each month. And that person would be selected from a criteria-based panel that will be open for everyone in the district. The information would go to the supervisor or the principal. That information would be submitted to the district. A panel would choose one. It just gives us a chance to recognize our staff who work so hard every day, day in and day out, who may not receive the proper due sometimes. That's why it was such a great thing tonight for us to acknowledge our cafeteria staff, for the hard work that they put in. They stepped up and met the challenge that was issued to them back in the summer. You're doing a tremendous job and continuing with that, but we have more heroes in the district that don't get recognized, and so we may not be able to catch them all, but if we can do one each month, I think we can do some good work. So just wanted to bring that to you, and this is the criteria for that. I'll answer any questions that you might have as it relates to it. And it can be a teacher, it can be a custodian, it can be a bus driver. Yes, ma'am.
On the form, it's very specific. It says, why does this teacher deserve to be recognized, and so on and so forth. You might want to change that.
Yes, ma'am, that will be changed. It should say why does a staff member. You are correct. You caught that pretty quick, huh?
Okay, I like it. I think it's something I hope that we will consider doing, and I'll go a step further, and I've had this conversation. I like to see it done by classes, an entire class. Maybe that's going too far, but if you think about it, there's some great kids that maybe won't ever get recognized because they miss it sometimes. I think it gives a teacher an opportunity to showcase what he or she can do as a teacher. And again, it's just something to think about.
If I can, if we could start with this and work this out for the continuation of the year, and then do that, because one thing I don't want is for you to feel like this is just something adding on to a meeting. It'll take an additional 2 or 3 minutes, but what it'll mean for the individual being recognized, I don't think we'll be able to ever make that person feel any more special. And I agree with you.
Thank you. I don't have a problem with it. I don't know if anybody else does. I don't think it needs to be voted upon. It's just something we just need to agree that we can do. Does anyone have a problem with that? You got it.
All right. We have a lot of stars in this district. Just want to give them their due shot.
Okay, school calendar.
School calendar discussion. I'll have Ms. Kekila Robinson come up to talk a little bit about our school calendar plan. Many of you received an email from me this morning thanking the board and our calendar committee from last year. Not many districts in the state were able to enjoy a full week off, and I don't think enough recognition is given to those who put school calendars together, because it's not an easy process. But Ms. Robinson is going to talk a little bit about our process for this year, and then if you have questions or would like to make suggestions as she heads into this process, now would be the time.
I'm Chairman McNeil, school board members, Dr. McCord. Several years ago, the legislation passed a bill that said that districts could not start school before the third Monday. Since then, as you know, last year, because there was an issue, we were allowed to start school 2 days ahead. As we go into this school year with our calendar planning, several districts are exploring the option of starting school actually before the third Monday, because there's a push from educators, parents, teachers to finish the first semester before Christmas. What that does sometimes, however, is shortchange first semester. So you may not get a full 90 days in if you start the third Monday, but you try to end before December, you're not going to get 90 days in. So there is a movement now to start before the third Monday. What we will do over the next few weeks is form a committee, which will have representatives from the Teacher of the Year and other staff members, and led by myself, where we will come together and put together several options with calendars. Of course, one of them will more than likely have the start date before the third Monday in August, and we'll bring that back to you in January at our next meeting to have you look at the options. But we would encourage any feedback that you have for the committee now.
I've had some feedback from some teachers who were a little unhappy about not having a long weekend in October this year. And I said, well, you got a whole week of Thanksgiving, and they said that's a very long time to go without an extra day off.
I've heard that also, that spring, what they call the fall break,
Right.
before.
Another thing we need to consider too is the fact that over the last 4 or 5 years, we've had a 50-year storm occur each year. We were fortunate this year, we only missed 1 day, whereas there were multiple counties in the state that missed an entire week, which of course pushes the calendar back. If we have a 5-day head start, we could still essentially finish the semester before or as we leave for Christmas break, which allows for early graduation. It allows for us to have an early graduation ceremony, and allows for kids in high school to begin college second semester. For those that are going into the military, it gives them a deferment date that can begin in January, at the beginning of January, as opposed to not knowing when they can get in. So the advantages for starting a school year earlier or concluding it at the Christmas break is it allows more flexibility for schools. The only requirement for students at seat time is at the high school level. So even though we don't always forecast that, the high school students are the ones that are expected to make 120-hour seat time. But we still have to have a 180-day school day calendar for students and a 190 school day calendar for staff. But we have heard that about October, but just wanted to let you know we're going to present a couple of options for you and get as much feedback as we can moving forward. So that's one thing we've heard. Have you heard anything else?
I think it's a wonderful idea to get that semester in. That was one of the reasons for extending the calendar. We get ours in. Well, I say ours.
Okay.
It is a benefit to have it done by then. Not only that, especially in block scheduling, to have it done to start your second semester with your new courses underway. It can give an opportunity for high school students to get in if they have to rearrange their schedules or whatever. It's just a...
And from a testing perspective, students will complete the semester. Right, they complete the semester and take exams as opposed to going home 2 weeks off, coming back for a week, and then going into exams. So it could help students also fare better on their semester grades.
It also helps the teachers because of the turnaround time. You have like 2 days to turn around and start a whole new semester with a whole bunch of
right.
The school calendars have always been, originally, we designed them for agriculture, now we design them for tourism, but it's never been designed for the student.
That's right.
Well, we will bring you my recommendations in January.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. I was part of that agricultural part. Okay. Review of policy on
KFR.
Yeah.
We're going to bring this information for you, the board, to look at and review and see if there's anything that stands out in particular with policy KFR that you would like to see changed. As you see here, the policy has not been changed, reviewed, or modified since 2007. We're almost 13 years later, and we have prices that reflect that don't adequately provide for staff that work functions when facilities are being requested by the community. So to have the right personnel in place, I'll ask you to look at just a few things and give your feedback before we make any changes. We'd like for you to look at the fee schedule. And the fee schedule does include the hourly cost for custodians, whether or not we have to have a principal or designee on site for these events, the cook and the lunchroom manager. Now, as far as the facilities use, we currently charge lower than average prices. To have a building open for $15 an hour for the lights, and the water, and everything else doesn't benefit us. We do it for the community, of course, but it is something that we probably need to review. And so I'll take your guidance before we do anything, but I would like to ask you to begin looking at that, because as we continue to ask others to stay and monitor the buildings, it becomes more of an inconvenience for staff than it is a convenience.
Mr. Coachman?
Is this a current fee
Yes, sir.
scale?
Yes, sir.
Currently?
It is.
Okay,
Has not been reviewed since 2007.
so there's no recommended scale.
There's no recommended. I can make a recommendation, but I would rather you provide me your insights first. I think when we had our last policy review, that was one of the things that was stated to me, even during my eval. You would rather bring the information to me and then we modified accordingly. And so I'm just following what was shared.
Mr. Coachman?
I agree we have to have something in place, but when you're dealing with, I don't see anything, it says organization, but non-profit organizations that's doing charity work or giving things, no charge with, I didn't see it, it's saying non-profit.
I know there's a couple of things we want to discuss, so I think the best thing and the quicker way to do this is if we can get a date or dates that we can look at for for some type of retreat or workshop to discuss some things that need to be discussed. And I think the sooner the better. If we could have your office to give us some dates and that we could work with.
Oh, I most definitely
Thank you,
will.
sir. I appreciate it.
How long was that?
Saturdays are.
I don't know. We're just gonna come up with dates.
December's going to be bad.
We'll get us some dates that doesn't have a Saturday on it, and we'll see what we can do with them.
But not the month of December.
I think it's a good policy, just needs to be updated a little bit.
Oh, yes, sir. That's what I said I want you to look at.
I think, along with that, when we have to get some data, what the other areas, other schools are, what their charges are. So we'll kind of have we'll be in line of what they are.
Okay.
Okay.
All these prices, all these dollar amounts, we want to know what their dollar amounts are.
Okay, let's get some dates in, and that would help us.
So for January or February?
January.
January.
Okay.
Now,
Now-
get a busy in February.
February, you've already committed 2 weekends to.
Yeah.
So let's just do some time in January.
Fridays, Saturdays?
Do a Saturday for me, first 2 Saturdays in November.
Okay. So when you're trying to plan for 10, it becomes,
Give me some dates.
we'll get some.
That's all. Just give me some dates.
Okay.
Times nights, early nights work better.
Throw all kinds of stuff in there. Make it work. Thank you. Superintendent's report.
Okay, first up is school reports to the community and to the board. As we have stated and shared, accordingly, we have made some administrative changes with a couple of our schools and just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge those in the audience tonight accordingly. Ashley Taylor, formerly of Blenheim Middle School of Discovery, will be joining the administrative team at Wallace Elementary Middle School with a focus primarily on grades 6th, 7th, and 8th. And so, Ms. Taylor, I see you out in the audience. And next we have Ms. Tama Dees, who will be joining us as interim principal at Blenheim Middle School of Discovery. Ms. Dees is a longtime educator here in Marlboro County, a former principal. Currently, she's been working with the district for early education, and until such a time where a permanent principal will be named, she will be acting out the duties as lead administrator in charge for Blenheim Middle School of Discovery. Okay. Did you want to say a few words, Ms. Dees?
I'd just like to say it's an honor and a privilege to be asked to serve the wonderful staff and students at Blenheim Middle School of Discovery. You know, it's been said, if you stay around an organization long enough, things come full circle. I started teaching at Blenheim Elementary Middle School. I was the first full-time kindergarten teacher 27 years ago. So I'm just going home for a little while until a permanent principal is found.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank all of you for the time speaking to all principals, all assistant principals. We do appreciate all that you're doing. I know I do. And it's a job I couldn't do. I can be a cop, but I couldn't be a teacher. Go figure. Okay.
We have personnel updates now coming from Kekila Robinson. I'm sorry?
Jerry Henderson is also serving as a Kate.
Oh, Jerry Henderson is serving in the capacity of Kate, but for audit purposes. So that's why I didn't bring him up, but go ahead.
Good evening again, Chair, Board members, Dr. McCord. I just wanted to provide an update of our current vacancies. Our HR staff and our building principals and district support staff are actively recruiting in our elementary. See if I can get this to work. We have 2 elementary vacancies, both are 4th grade teacher positions, one at BIS and one at McCall Elementary School. We have 3 middle school core vacancies, 8th grade, 7th grade, and 6th grade, and they're all at Blenheim Middle School of Discovery. At the high school, we have 2 core vacancies. One is a special ed position at the actual high school, and then there's a math position at AMI. AMI, of course, you know, is a contract service, so they are receiving services, but we are actively recruiting for that position. We have 5 related art vacancies, 3 music teachers, 1 art teacher at Blenheim Middle School of Discovery, and a gifted and talented teacher position at Blenheim Middle School of Discovery. We are serving our gifted and talented students, but there was always an additional position in the budget, and we're still actively recruiting for that position, but our students are being served. Our other vacancies throughout the district, health science instructor, we have a position available in the district, but once again, those students are being served through virtual school, a guidance counselor position, an E3 lead teacher position. We are contracted services for school psychologists and speech therapists, but we are still trying to recruit our own. We have a network administrator position in the IT department, and we are actively recruiting bus drivers every day. That is our update.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any questions? No questions, okay.
No.
All right. Moving right along, financial report, West Park.
You have the financial report as of November 22nd, 2019, which is presented by object for general fund operations with the expenditures to date. As of that same date, the district's cash and investment balances on hand for the 4 primary accounts were $2,776,055. As of November 22nd, 2019, the district has expended $10,812,892 of a $34,818,102 budget, or 28.32% of budget year to date. And just to receive that as information. Any questions?
Thank you, Wes.
Okay, certainly.
And then the last item is just for you to discuss.
Okay, that last item has been and will continue to be discussed with the board, and we will make a decision and share that with you and with the community in January. But let me take that. The superintendent has an obligation to remind the board that we have an obligation to make a decision on his contract by January, by the end of January, February 1st. And we will do that in January. Okay. Mr. Coach.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we go home, but before we go home, I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Mr. Chair, I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. This meeting be adjourned. All in favor, let me know by raising your right hand. Opposes? We are adjourned.
Don't forget that stuff in the back.
Oh, don't. Hey, I got that. Don't worry about it. Ma'am.